Soyez science et quête de sens. Je l'avais dit en introduction, le sens, c'est aussi l'entreprise. Et nous allons finir avec une dernière intervention. Et parce que j'ai commencé en disant que c'était plus qu'un colloque. Et je ne veux pas, les retours que j'ai eus de beaucoup d'entre vous, je pense, montrent que je n'ai pas exagéré. C'était plus qu'un colloque. Et j'ai dit, on bâtit une partie des fondations d'un nouveau monde. Et pour bâtir, il faut un architecte. Merci beaucoup. Et donc, je voulais terminer ce colloque en vous présentant un ami très cher depuis plus de 20 ans que j'ai rencontré, jeune architecte à Fès dans les années 1999. Il a fait une grande carrière aux États-Unis, il a dirigé l'École nationale d'architecture et maintenant, je l'ai retrouvé ici à l'UM6P où il dirige justement l'école d'architecture SAP+D. Et donc, je pense qu'il est dans la salle et qu'il va s'approcher. Il est là. Et donc, je voulais vous présenter, et on va terminer avec lui, donc, mon ami Hassan Radoine. Voilà Hassan. C'est un homme, vous verrez, qui a une vraie dimension spirituelle pour l'architecture. Je lui passe donc la parole pour la dernière intervention. Et après, je reviendrai. Les ateliers seront décalés. On est très en retard, j'expliquerai tout ça. Mais pour l'instant, on est dans le sens. Et on écoute donc Hassan Radoine, le sens dans l'architecture. Hassan, merci. Toi, tu as la zapette pour passer les diapos. Hein, ou tu veux pas, voilà.
Bonjour. Mon intervention sera en anglais. Je m'excuse, je suis plus confortable. Toutes mes études étaient en anglais, OK? Hello, everyone. Thank you, John Stones. Thank you so much. I've seen this wonderful gentleman in 20 years in Fez. And of course, we never changed, actually, what we were working about. Sense, spirituality, sense of being, sense of identity, why we're here. And this is why I'll be a little bit provocative, and I promise you I will keep you awake. I know I am the last one to talk, but I hope I will ignite your interest. Look at this slide. Okay? There is this human being in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, looking for a sense. But these Homo sapiens, they don't know how many years they've been on the surface Earth, and they still not having sense. Something wrong. And now, we travel to the moon, which kind of a sense? Are we looking for another sense? And now maybe we'll move far to Mars. So, which sense? Or maybe we lost sense to define sense. And who started the crisis of sense? Is it the global north or the global south? And they will recall an amazing saying of Muhammad Arkoun. He said we need to be very careful from importing the remedies of diseases of others. Who started that problem? To move fast. You know, this is a sense of nature. And since I'm an architect, I'm always looking for the sense of the built environment. So there is an amazing nature-made architecture that stems out of the ground of the earth itself. And maybe this is sense, I argue. Is it the sense of what we find somewhere? And you know the whole war now is about resources. Who is driving sense? Resources. And how we would explore those resources to set up a construct. And the other sense, this is Qasbat Eid Haddu, a beautiful site, and you could even see that there is a huge similarity of sense of nature and sense of man-made built environment. And I would recall, since I was a PhD candidate at University of Pennsylvania, UPenn, with one of my professors who was a brilliant, brilliant academic, and we were talking about the reason behind the modernist mind. And you know very well the crisis of 19th century with neoclassicism, and when we started to be very extravagant for the sake of being extravagant, and then the machine came and the machine redefined the sense. And the modernists, they were not wrong at the beginning. They wanted to democratize things through the machine to make sense. But then they fell into tabula rasa. Anti-context, anti-heritage, anti-history, and this is another problem. So the sense, is it retrospective? We need to be empirical to learn from antecedents, or the sense something to define for the future? So we are caught in between the emotional romantic past and also caught by the pressure to move to the future to create something invisible. So this is the nature of a human being. So therefore, I'm showing you this slide. This is in the desert of Timbuktu. This person is praying. And hence, this is a mosque. And everyone here saying that the mosque should be a dome, arches, big halls, rags. And I'm telling you, you don't need to have all these material shapes to pray. So what is a sense? Is the campus. Being somewhere and has a campus is a cosmological interpretation of being somewhere. And they recall here Dyson, the concept of Heidegger in his book, Time and Being. There is no beginning and end. There is also a continuum. And what the sense would be defined in that this question of temporality. So the mosque here is just like stones. The door there of the mosque, he puts his shoes outside. And the condition to pray, two things, two simple things. Cleans the ground, set a direction, period. And on the other side, between that sense, I'm not talking here just about Islam. Being Buddhist, Christian, Jew, Muslim, I mean, I will recall also Alan Colquhoun's when we said there is no human sense without the ethical, mythical nucleus. This is the nature of humans. They've been looking for sense since they've been on the surface earth. And of course, sometimes sense comes because of the sense of existence. Without water, without the conditions of life, you cannot have a sense of a place. So therefore, by creating an ecosystem where life is, with a supra-sense, which is the ethical, mythical, then you are making sense. This is a beautiful drawing of Delacroix. I really am really impressed by Delacroix. Why? I'm not showing you his fancy paintings when he went back home and he started using his croquis to set up the formal tableau, the formal painting. What actually Delacroix was looking for when he was in Morocco? He was looking for a sense. Did you see? He's not actually like Orientalists drawing a sheikh with a pipe and there is harem woman behind the screen and fantasizing about the Orient, the East. He's a very conscious artist. He's looking for the human sense. And he was so impressed by the human motion and space. Space, time, sense of belonging. And I will move now to my book. And why I wrote this book is with Wiley International, and so proud, 9,500 copies sold worldwide. Last week I was in Harvard. I checked the library. I found my book in Harvard Library. And one of the professors in New York University said, send me, Hassan, I'm using your book as a textbook. Why? I've grown up in Fez. I worked in the Medina, in the conservation program for 12 years. I'm not praising the Medina. I'm not romanticizing it. But when I lived in Dubai, UAE, for 6 years, for 6 years, I never understood why I'm there. Please, I'm not here dramatizing. I never know why I'm there. And I put this collage. It's my collage. I put these skyscrapers in the middle of nowhere. You see, I'm provoking your interest. What is sense and what is nonsense? And by the way, John Stone, where is he? Good. You know, you're using this beautiful conference today in 2023, I use sense to dedicate my book. I said I dedicate this book to all those young architects who are striving to design out of the box with the aim of improving the human condition through an architecture of sense in all regions of the world. Because whatever you do, psychology, physics, mathematics, I know that we are very fragmented in terms of our interests, but trust me, we do have the same strive and the same interest on what we do. So this is actually a beautiful slide, and all the photos you see here, and also the sketches, they are mine. I was wandering next to Burj Khalifa, and I was so caught by this internationalist standardized skyscraper, looking to be global, and between a local vocabulary trying to reproduce the past. And by the way, this is non-Medina. This is just like, pastiche, using local vocabulary for emotional reason to get customers, get like kind of Eastern architecture. But you could see here the striking contrast between these two senses. Wow, this is another amazing shock. I like this Sid Mead. He's an art critic in New York Times. I'm sorry, this misspelling. This is actually Sid Mead. He visited Doha and he was shocked. He said, okay, they erased everything, no sense of place, and they wanted to be futuristic. And he imagined Doha for 2050. Extraterrestrial ships, glasses of champagnes becoming buildings, and and all the ecstasy of being fictional, futuristic. So what kind of sense? And I get here, and this is what we need to be very careful, and you see, since architecture arts, they are very visual, each one of you will find it easy to get identified because we have this visual power. This is, thanks God, this building was not executed. I was in Dubai at that time. This is by Transparent House. It's actually a design company in California. They set up this design of the building, and this here is the danger. I don't want to show the video because the lawyer who actually revisited my book for not to get sued, because I was sometimes very harsh in criticizing, so he was like getting me back. If you listen to the architect, he was actually synthesizing the whole Gulf region. He said, I will raise my hand, capture the sun, I will raise my hand down to touch the sand, and hence the solution is the crescent of Islam, which has no foundation that the crescent is symbol of Islam. But the hilal, watching the hilal to see the mud. But how it came to be a symbol, I don't know. Like the color green is nonsense. It's nonsense. And they think this is what is sense. Who is creating the sense? You go to a tribe to Amazon, you've never been there, you go for 1 week, and then you make a synthesis, and you define them in 3 points, because you are a scientist. It's ridiculous. So who is making sense? For whom? I remember with my professor, Keith Critchlow, he's a very close friend of now His Royal Highness. When I was in the institute, he took us to the British Museum, and then we went to a place where there is a totem, African totem. And then Keith, he told me, could you read, Hassan, the caption? He said, I said, this is the god of that tribe in an African tribe. He told me how they stolen their god. They stolen their god. I mean, the totem was something that was worshipped, and then the god was stolen. So where is sense? A sense is something that comes from a context, like beautiful, amazing panel of leaders talking about their own emotions, how they made sense of their own business. their own lives. I don't know the names, but like someone among them who was very genuine, he got very emotional. I think this is sense. Sense cannot be parachuted, like what you see here. This is an amazing architect, Emirati. I met him because I interviewed so many architects, designers, and he tried actually to capture here the sense of the desert because, you know, the Emirates, and he did fantastic work in having this resilient, as I quote him, resilient architecture, or an architecture of sense that is trying to expose topography, landscape, etc., like, etc. So this, I would ask you a question. Is this ambiance authentic or not? Who would say authentic, please? Not Global Village, no. Is this authentic? Please raise your hands. Who would say authentic? Good. This is Doha, and this is Souq Waqif, and this is a fabricated souk, which is Souq Waqif. So, Amir of Qatar, when you saw he has only skyscrapers, and they lost the sense of memory of Qatar. By the way, this is not me, this is Amir of Qatar. And then he called Qatari artists, he told them, you know what? We have only malls, we have only skyscrapers. Nothing here is Qatari. And these young kids in school, they lost track of the sense who they are. So they started reconstructing, reconstructing like Souq Waqif, of course, and you could see here, it's a theme park. It's a theme park. You know the difference, I cannot venture say Disney, but theme park. Theme park, when you capture history to make sense and to make it, you know, but by the way, this is the only open air plaza in Doha, where you have a souk around the plaza, etc., Souq Waqif. So this is also trying to make sense. So the key questions. How to comprehend the background of architectural tradition in the Middle East and North Africa, where we have a big crisis. How to design an architecture of sense, while actually embracing its contextual qualities without falling into emotional pastiche. This is another problem. While looking for sense, because you lost sense. And I've heard so many times, we are in a time of crisis, we are in a time of ambiguity, we lost sense, etc. But excuse me, I mean, don't blame technology. Oh, because artificial intelligence is here, then we lost sense. This is nonsense, all right? The tools that have been evolving in the history of mankind, why you get scared of AI? When the machine started, John Ruskin, he started writing poems about the danger of the machine, and then the machine became part of the humankind. So therefore, how to embrace the past without falling into pastiche, but also how to have the sense of context in designing responsible, and what are the cultural meanings, thawabits wal mutaghayyirat. There are things, they are permanent, because they are values, they don't change. Respect your mother, it's been there. And I was in the Hindu temple in London, and they had this set of principles that said, what? Respect your neighbor, respect your mother, do that, do that. I mean, it's having nothing to do with Islam or Christianity. It's a human thing to look for superior values. Therefore, what are these permanent values? What are the changing values? And this is what we lost track in architecture. How to reach local anchorage without discarding the positive global input. We cannot just blame globalization while we, at the level of the individual or the community, we don't have even a definition of the self. I think the problem of sense is to do the way we define ourselves. So here, just to move fast, because I don't want to waste much time, you see the Mediterranean belt and why this amazing climate, topography, geology, conditions, they created an amazing, with a lot of chains of mountains, they captured the rain, and then of course, the snow, and this is why you have oases and stuff. So I think the Mediterranean was an amazing place to show that sense. And here the question, if you ask the Orientalists about the nomadic life, they will tell you uncivilized people. I remember one of the professors in Royal College of Arts, I was drawing a plan of Medina. He came to me, he stood and said to me, Hassan, your Medina is a maze, it's disorder. I said, no, sir. It's your mental construct that looks at the Medina as a disorder. And they wrote a paper that was rejected 3 years, and then they accepted the paper, and they won a prize on it. I said, planning paradigm in the Medina order in disorder. There is this power that gives you the order, which is pure geometry of power, versus the sense of the humans that cannot be enshrined within a square or a triangle or a circle. So the same what happened with sciences. So therefore here, the nomadic, and they recall here Gustave Le Bon, La Civilisation des Arabes, he said the nomads are very civilized because there is an intangible part that is the capital. And now the way we define resilience, what is resilience? Resilience is the immune system. How at the individual level there is a sense of being where there is a certain locality and the interaction between this locality and the way we live and we persist that create resilience. So this is a good example of resilience. But if you look at the Greco-Roman temples and the vestiges of archaeology and you look at this model, of course you say this is uncivilized and the other one is civilized. And another philosopher said, there is no distinction between civilized and uncivilized. It is just the matter of coping with tools. And who was advanced in advancing tools, and the other, they became retarded because they did not adopt those tools in the right time. And this is what happened. So therefore, I give you lots of examples of sense. This is an amazing Sulayhid's Al-Hajjara village in Yemen. Imagine these humans at 2,300 meters altitude. They set up this beautiful village. I visited this village. Who is making sense? Who is not making sense? Is it the standardized machine production? Or is it something that stems out of the savoir-faire? I like the distinction between technology and technique. Technology is the baby of science to boost reproduction, production, but technique is the genius, loci, the local genius and how you want to tackle the issues. I will not go here to history of Middle East, how many stuff. This is where is Bruno? Yeah, I remember first time we visited El Bou'naniya, I give you a tour there and explain to you, the whole Medina is a disorder, okay. But the courtyard of the Bou'naniya is an absolute geometry with an extreme sense of mathematics. And even I've done the golden section of the facades of the Bou'naniya, and trust me, that we found ideal, all right? So I will move, this is the sense. When I don't want to criticize my country, but when I'm going to the airport of Casablanca, always I see this housing project. Where is sense? So this is the problem of quantity, reproduction, democratizing housing that would lead to what? To the controversy of having these humans living in these boxes in such conditions, no green spaces, no shared spaces, nothing. And then of course, this is one of the croquis, this is one of the Emiratis asking question. All these skyscrapers parachuted in the middle of nowhere, and all of them designed in offices in New York, London, Lisbon, and they all parachuted, I'm not criticizing Dubai, I love Dubai, but just for 1 month. You don't want to be there. So this is actually sense, Johnstone, this is sense. We architects now, what we're looking at, we're looking only at topography, you see, the physical layer. We don't consider the cultural layer, the social and communal layer, we don't consider biological layer, topographical, geological, environmental layer. This is actually the whole spectrum that we need to look at to get this architecture of sense. This beautiful view in an old site in Algeria. And this is what is actually exposing topography, living with ecological means, and sitting kind of resilient built environment. Some of you may think this is a maze, but is not. I think there is a mental construct there of a sense of neighborhoods, optimizing resources, thermal comfort. I can go on and on and on, telling you about how much these sites, they were evolving throughout history. It doesn't mean they were idiots because they did not set a triangle and they put a plaza as in the Renaissance where it's a theatrical. It's just like each region needs to be respected. This is the beautiful Museum of Islamic Art in Doha. This is actually two couples and the engineer who is setting up these skyscrapers, and if the energy will cut off, I was in Dubai where it was the financial crisis, trust me, the airport was flooded with cars, people fleeing. You cannot live more than 2 days in August if they cut off electricity. So without mechanical systems, no one would survive. So what is sustainable, what is not, what is sense and which is not. So we'll move to technicalities. This is the scale of proportions. You see the previous scale. It has a sense. And the skyscrapers, I'm not criticizing them. They may bring their own sense. Please, I don't want to sound here like someone advocating the past, romanticizing and criticizing anything to do with progress. I'm an academic. I'm giving you the two sides of the arguments. It's up to you to choose. I'm just like here saying that there are different ways of making sense with light and form. This is Coast University campus and how they captures, for instance, the beauty of light. You know the John Nouvel, beautiful Louvre in Abu Dhabi, and how he got the dome, which is normally for a building. He made it a whole project. And this is this beautiful sense in this beautiful, floor fountain in Buenania, where these people making their ablutions. So what is important? Is it the fountain? No, it's the intention, niyyah. What do you want to do with that thing? All right? And then, of course, getting to digital. I have no problem with digital, pushing VR, AR, pushing, of course, beam to create such a scheme, but in the same time emulating the Musharabi. But here, it's a membrane that is moving, and of course protecting the envelope from the sun. This is a beautiful gate of the train station in Marrakesh. And you see there are different ways about the question of how architecture will look more beautiful. But I will give you two distinctions. What is the distinction between ornament and decor? Decor is something superficial. You take it or you keep it, nothing would change. But the ornament, no. My arm is my ornament. Anything would happen with it, you will feel that something wrong. So an ornament, what makes sense of the body. And therefore, whatever elements, they should always stem from the body. And they will tell you now what's happened with the modern era when we lost track of the sense of patterns and motifs. I don't want to waste your time. This is actually in Yemen, and this is in Tunisia. They are both in the same region, but doesn't mean they have the same patterns or textures, but the value is the same. The arches look now with concrete. These are the authentic ones with taqasim, and this is like the losing sense, the non-sense of concrete, where you started copying the original, authentic, based on the genius, and then get into these ugly arches, they make no sense. So this part is crucial, and they will end with this. I think whatever we look at, physics, science, whatever, we look at cosmology, I think we always think about what the link between this human sense and what we do. And the contextual construct behind anything we do and what the meaning we give to that form, which makes sense. For me, something that is actually having sense, For the other, it may not make sense. And please, I will invite you all to respect that choice. Not the few will dictate the sense. Sense is to be shared, be experienced, be lived, and then you judge. And we come here to the sense of judgment, cultural value judgment, and symbolic codes. Throughout the years, when we use certain building spaces, etc., we don't adapt, we adopt. I think it's all about adoption to have a sense of cultural judgment that comes out of the community itself, but it's not imposed. Here, who would know this elephant where? Is it? I'm sure the one who travel a lot will know this elephant. This elephant is in Ibn Battuta Mall in Dubai. This is Dubai. And the Ibn Battuta Mall, of course, you go to Persia. They show you the beautiful dome of Isfahan. And under it, there is Starbucks. And then, of course, this is the part of, this is actually the clock. It was a clock, the elephant clock. And next to it is Shifshawan. Centuries of being in a space and how a community adopted the space. And of course, this is another problem of design. This is double-skinned. And look at this, again, somebody else trying to encapsulate the whole region in a crescent. But he was so out of subject because he put that pillar. With the engineering and smart materials, you don't need to put that pillar next to this crescent, which is actually a big mistake. But this is actually the Burajandi Palace in Kashan, where you have an amazing thermal comfort out of the wind catcher, Barjil, and how they capture the wind. Of course, this Sirdab with the basins underneath. And look, in Safavid period, 17th century, where architecture was not like this, a vain form for the sake of a signature, but was a way of being and using all local techniques. I will move on. This is Fez. I think the building know-how, very important. And when I was actually a technical reviewer with the Aga Khan International Award, this skyscraper won the prize. You know why? Not because it is a skyscraper, because each window was using a local thermal system, traditional one. Morality, ethics, I don't get to that. So this is in Tangier. You see now the contrast between a local scale and the international scale. This is actually an amazing example how modernism ended in Europe because of this beautiful project done by Michel Ecochard, Georges Candelis, and Chadra Woods, the disciples of Le Corbusier. But thanks to this project, the modernist movement ended because there were a lot of architects calling back the context. I will end, last slide. Yeah, I will end with this. This is an example, John Stone, of an architecture of nonsense, Ali Baba.
Thank you very much, Hassan Radoine, for this provocative talk. And now, please, c'est one minute more, un instant de plus. Donc, c'était vraiment une très, très belle aventure. Il y aura des ateliers tout à l'heure pour ceux qui veulent interagir avec les intervenants. On va les repousser à 15h15, mais c'est la fin de cette session plénière et donc de cette journée et demie que nous avons passée ensemble. Je voudrais que vous applaudissiez deux personnes d'abord qui ont fait un travail incroyable. Yasmine Maouni qui va arriver de là et Anan El Afifi. Yasmine était l'event manager. Elle a eu un travail de folie parce qu'il y avait un autre colloque juste avant dont elle était aussi l'event manager. Donc elle a dû préparer deux colloques en même temps. Elle était dans, je vous dis, c'est tout juste si elle arrivait à ne pas s'évanouir. Anan El Afifi qui a géré toute la partie des invités et qui est ma principale collaboratrice marocaine. Voilà. Ensuite, nous avons l'event manager général qui est Mehdi El Malem, qui s'occupe de l'événementiel. Tu peux monter sur scène, Mehdi, absolument. Je remercie aussi Zakaria Chelouati, qui n'est pas là, mais qui était quelqu'un qui était à l'hôpital il y a une semaine, tellement il était en burn-out. Il s'est occupé avec son équipe de tous les visuels que vous avez vus, les jolis visuels qui sont là. Et puis, Mehdi. Et puis aussi, il y a eu toute une série de gens qui ont travaillé pour ce colloque et donc pour faire venir des personnalités et pour vous recruter, au premier rang desquels, évidemment, notre ami Moulay Youssef Alaoui, que vous avez déjà vu, mais je demande de revenir sur scène avec Bilal Benamour, qui m'a beaucoup aidé. Oui, Bilal, j'espère qu'il est là. Bilal, tu peux venir sur scène. Si, c'est procès. Mohamed Amrani et Hatim Benjeloun. Hatim Benjeloun, Bilal Benamour, Moulay Youssef Alaoui, Karim Amor, Brahim Slaoui, et Mohamed Amrani, ici dans la salle. C'est ce que j'appelle le rhizome, c'est-à-dire ce sont des grands amis, et je leur demande de faire venir d'autres amis, voyez-vous. Et c'est comme cela que l'on peut rassembler, effectivement, pour un colloque comme celui-ci. Et puis, il y a eu toute une équipe de jeunes filles brillantes qui ont été avec mon amie Lamia Benchekroun. Si elle est dans la salle, elle peut venir. Je citerai également, c'était pour recruter les influenceuses, pour recruter le public, Gita Mekwar, Myriam Tahiri, Rabia Hachem, et toute l'équipe à distance aussi de services logistiques de l'ABS qui sont basés à Rabat. Donc, on les remercie tous. Et pour ceux qui sont sur in the room, I will ask all the speakers to go on stage if there's are not all in the room, but the speakers are in the room, please go on stage. Et ce que je vais dire en français, c'est que les deux choses qui m'ont le plus, enfin, j'ai reçu beaucoup de compliments pour ces journées et demie, mais il y a deux choses qui m'ont frappé, c'est vous avez fait une broderie cosmique, c'est un compliment que dont je voulais faire part, et l'autre, de mes neurones dansent la lambada. Voilà deux des compliments que j'ai reçus qui m'ont marqué, et donc je demande aux intervenants, voilà, donc ceux qui sont encore là, Bruno Guiderdoni, bien sûr, qui est mon complice et coéquipier, Bruno, Vincent Lénart, qui était dans la table ronde, Brahim, je t'ai dit Brahim Slaoui, j'ai appelé Brahim tout à l'heure, tu peux monter sur scène. Grégory Chaitin, who is a speaker, you can go on stage. All the speakers, please, on stage. All the speakers on stage. Eric Geoffroy is a speaker. Eric, you must be on stage. Donc maintenant, nous allons déjeuner et nous donnons rendez-vous à 15h15 pour les ateliers. Voilà, all the speakers. Reza Mogadashi. Bon, comment Reza ne peut pas être là? Vous avez découvert Reza? Voilà. Allez, et on va même prendre notre ami Zakaria pour les transferts. Lui, il a beaucoup travaillé sur les transferts, c'est essentiel pour récupérer des intervenants à minuit, 1h du matin. Zakaria, tu peux venir pour la photo. Est-ce que tous les intervenants sont là? Luc, where is Luc? Luc est là. Voilà Luc, l'homme invisible, Luc Tessot. Et voilà Luc, intervenant. Et les autres, allez, tout le monde. Voilà, c'était une broderie cosmique, c'est pas moi qui le dis, c'est l'une d'entre vous. Et on a vraiment passé une journée et demie extraordinaire tous ensemble pour quelque chose qui, je crois, fait vraiment du sens. Merci. Et vive le Maroc et l'UM6P qui permettent de faire quelque chose comme ça, qui est quand même assez unique. Je peux vous dire que j'ai vraiment pas pu faire ça souvent dans ma vie, donc c'est grâce à l'UM6P. J'ai fait beaucoup de colloques, mais c'est vraiment grâce à l'UM6P ici que nous pouvons faire quelque chose d'aussi incroyable. Merci. Et à Hicham El Abdi, bien sûr, que je veux citer, le président de l'UM6P, que j'ai connu bien avant qu'il soit président ici, et qui n'est pas là avec nous, mais qui est un ami très cher que j'admire beaucoup.